What's going on, everybody? We'll do like we normally do. We're going to wait a few minutes to let people kind of pour in. They see the notification. But got my boy Bob up here. Going to be talking to him about some of the fish that he's caught. So y'all just y'all hang out for a few minutes and we'll get started. This will give me a chance to go ahead and share this link out too. Boop. Get this up. What's up, Creole? I see you jumping in.
Creole, what's up, brother? My bumping brother. Lynn. Lynn in the house, old Brian B.
Catfish Fever, Brian B. Nice, Bob. I see you throwing it in there. That's awesome. Got that shared out. Glad to see everybody coming in. Daniel, I see. I think you were first, buddy. I think you actually got in here first for once.
Ricky Bobby style. If you ain't first, you're last.
Yeah, so we'll give it a few minutes, let people get in here and just kind of hang out for a little bit. I hope everybody's doing good. What's up, Jody? I see you sneaking in real quick.
Oh, thank you, Jody.
What's up, Nate? Yeah, Monday. I don't know if it's happy, but it's a Monday. Lance, what's going on, man?
Hello, Lance.
The old bourbon master. Oh, man. I'm ready for this weather to calm down so I can get some more fish. And I got to get, especially after watching Haz's video tonight, man, I got to get my kayak out of the shed. It's driving me crazy.
He was pulling them planer boards. That's what you want to be doing right now. Hit them shallows, pull them planers.
I don't think outside the box enough. I never would have thought of doing that out of a kayak. That's crazy.
Has yours got a trolling motor on it?
Yeah.
Where you just pedal? Yeah, absolutely. You can do it out of a kayak. Mark, hey, you like the hat?
What's going on, bud? Oh, Bob got the hat on for you.
Yeah, I bought it 2 weeks ago, and then this week during the 1 versus 1, he decided to do free shipping on all catfish and crappie merch.
Shoot, heck yeah.
I was like, well, now you tell me. I could have waited.
Put a big order in.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I hope everybody's having a good Monday. It was all right. Personally, it was okay. We went and priced a bunch of jobs today, so that's, hopefully good. And keep my fingers crossed. What's up, Uncle Lou? I see you sneaking in too, bud.
I got something to show Uncle Lou.
Oh, man.
You know what this is, Uncle Lou? Waiting on it. They tried to deliver it on the 18th. I'm so upset right now. It's somewhere in limbo.
Mail service is crazy right now, dude.
Yeah, they don't care. My Uncle Lou's bumping rods floating around out there on a USPS truck. I probably won't sleep tonight knowing that.
You're gonna get it. It's gonna be opened already. And it's gonna have fish slime. They done stopped and tried it out real quick.
No.
Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, yeah, it'd be something, all right.
Oh, man.
All right, everybody drop a thumbs up. There's only 5 thumbs up now. Come on, guys.
Come on. I know y'all like Bob more than that. Oh, yep. I see my wife. She's in here. She's probably watching right now. Yeah, I see she popped in earlier.
Hey, I want you to do a video, Pat, with that Rapala in there. I want you to use that in the video.
I got a pole that'll throw it. I got some poles that'll throw that thing.
You pull that behind your kayak.
So what they told me, the people that I won that from, they know me, right? They know the kind of stuff that I do. When I picked that up, they were like, do not try to use it in the water. That lip is only just on there. It won't hold against pressure.
Mm.
So I'm going to JB weld it onto it.
Put some hooks on it.
I'm going to try it one day just to see what it'll do.
Actually, if you're going to do that, use G-Flex, West System G-Flex epoxy.
Put that on there. Shoot, I'll drive some screws into it or something. I'll make it last of one fishing trip.
That's funny.
I'll use like a
shark on it.
I'll use like a 10-pound weight to get it down and use it like a demon dragon or something like that. That'd be ridiculous, dude.
That'd make a great video.
I'd have to use a shark rod to be able to handle the water pressure from it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else would be bending all the way down past the reel seat.
No doubt.
Yeah. If any of my mods are in here, do me a favor if you can. Help share this out. Let's try to get some more people in. I know Kevin's live right now, and some other people are live. So let's try to get this out there for everybody. It's this one I've been waiting to have Bob on here with me. He does something I've never tried before. Well, two things now, and it interests me immediately. Which I have, since we have a few more minutes. I'll give it a few more minutes before we start. The whole reason why I got interested in the bumping like you do is on a trip with Joe, we were fishing a spot and we anchored up, and I went to cast one of my baits off to the side. He told me, hold on, I want to drift down a little further to the spot. Mm-hmm. I already had my bait down. So I just kind of was walking it along the bottom as we were drifting down to the spot.
Yeah.
I had a huge skipjack head on because we were anchor fishing. And about the fourth bump, I said, boop, boop, boop. And I like to lost the rod, a big cat. Twisted my wrist, the rod come up. I actually caught the reel handle. Wow. It was actually pulling drag downwards against my wrist. I was trying to pull it in, and it ended up pulling the skipjack head off. And I remember watching your stuff bump, and I was like, oh, my God, is this what it's like?
Mm-hmm. It is. I mean, like any other form of fishing, catfish, mostly you're either like in a land-based rod holder or you've got your rods in a rod holder, suspended, anchored, or whatever. You're not holding the rod. But with bumping, you got the rod in your hand, and when they hit, you feel it. I mean, immediately. And to be able to feel that take is just, I mean, it's powerful, man. It's awesome. But it's a cool way to fish, that's for sure. And this year I'm gonna do more bumping in places that I wouldn't normally bump. Like I kind of did some, back in the fall where I was like bumping downtown in front of the aquarium and stuff, and like places that people don't normally bump. Most people kind of stay below the dam, but I'm gonna bump all over the place and just try different spots and different currents, and just see what it's like.
Sure. Yeah, I would.
It's an awesome way to fish.
Now, can you? I guess technically we're already started, so we'll talk about some bumping for a few minutes. Now, can you do that in deeper water too? Can you bump deep water? Is that mostly a shallow water kind of technique, or?
Oh no, you can bump as deep as you got line for. I mean, it's probably the more line you got out, probably your sensitivity is going to be reduced. The deeper you get, and especially if you're in like a muddy area versus a rocky area, I think you're probably going to lose some of the feel as you're doing it too. But I don't think there's any limit to how deep you can bump. I think the deepest I've tried it is actually I did try bumping in an 80-foot hole, and it worked. I could still feel because when I was anchored up, you can do it while you're anchored up too. I actually was anchored on spot lock, and I had anchor rods out, and this was up on the lake. I just started out like dropping the bait right behind the boat and hit 80 feet, and then started letting the bait walk behind the boat. And I kind of had like 4 rods out like this, and I just stood in the middle of the boat and threw my bumping rod, dropped my bumping weight down between the 4 rods, and just started walking it back. So I was doing 2 things at one time. I was anchor fishing, and I was walking the bait behind the boat. And I thought, man, I'm gonna get tangled up here, but I never did. I never got tangled up with any of my other lines. Now, if I got a fish on, I might have got tangled.
Right.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. So anytime I go anchor fishing where there's current, I'm gonna take a bumping rod with me, and just gives you something else to do while you're sitting there waiting. Why not?
Shoot, I would. I would. That's a lot of times when you're anchor fishing, you miss out on fish that are up underneath the boat. That'd be a good way to get to
Hmm.
them. I like
Yeah,
that.
just drop straight down behind the boat and just sit there and just walk your bait in between your anchor rods if you can.
Right.
I bet you Creole's done that before. I guarantee
Probably.
he has. He's one of the guys that I started watching videos of bumping, and there's a couple guys that I started. Chris Souders was one of them. I watched a lot of his bumping videos. Creole, I watched some of his bumping videos. But I mean, if you go to YouTube and you search, bumping for catfish, you'll pull up a whole host of people and different ways and different methods to do it. So
Right.
there's no one perfect
Absolutely.
way. Yeah. I knew he'd be doing it.
Cool. Well, I guess I'm just officially get this bad boy started. Welcome to Monster Monday, y'all. We got my boy Bob here, Bobcat Outdoors. You know, that's one person I know in the area that catches good fish. And Bob, he tears them up. I see you back there sometimes catching them right behind that dam, catching them big old fish.
Yep.
It blows my mind because a lot of guys won't get behind that dam. It's a little spooky for some people. You know what I mean?
It is, and it's risky. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a risk.
Yeah, but you pull them out of there. I see you pull some good fish.
But I pay a lot of attention to the water flow and what my boat's doing. And a lot of times, if I'm bumping down between the dam and the railroad bridge, I'll keep my outboard running in case my trolling motor fails or whatever, and I'm unable to control the boat because I had one close encounter with one of those railroad pylons, and it was one too many.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Um, they come at you fast in that short section.
It'd be hard to pay attention to, especially if you got a fish also that splits your attention and it
Oh,
catch up with you real quick.
there's a lot of stuff going on there. When you got a fish on between the base of the dam and the railroad bridge, there's a whole lot going on right there that you got to pay attention to. I think it's a good idea to keep of course, you're using a trolling motor to either spot lock or put on north heading. But I think it's just a smart idea, especially in that short span, to keep your outboard idling and running in case your trolling motor fails because you need a backup plan, really.
Right. I definitely worry about you sometimes back there, but it pays off. Like I see you pull fish out of there constantly, especially it really blows my mind because like I've actually been up there fishing and pretty close to where you were when you were fishing, and we catch nothing. I see everybody catching nothing, and then I see you post about an hour later a video or a picture of you pulling some hosses. There was especially one night I remember I was fishing. I hadn't had a bite all day, and I was down there on one of them piers. And I just went on Facebook, and you had caught like 3 or 4 nice, 20 to 30 pound catfish back there. And I didn't see anybody else or hear of anybody else catching anything.
Yeah. Well, this is just my my opinion, the way I think of it. Like, as far as I think those catfish that come up there to feed at the base of the dam, I mean, that is some of the most uneven, rugged terrain on any riverbed anywhere, right in that short section. I think that them fish, they come up there, they find them a hole to get in, they find a depression to get in, and they just sit there and they just wait on something to come past them. So if you're out there just throwing baits out and like kind of fishing like Big Mike does, I don't think in all situations them fish are moving around a lot. I think that they're sitting in those holes and they're just sitting there just waiting on something like this is the hole. I think they're sitting there just waiting on, a piece of bait to come over and then they'll come up and grab it. So I think by just trying to, throw bait out there and wait on them to come to you, I don't think that's as an effective method as if you're coming downstream and you're bumping bait along the bottom, you're kind of presenting a bait to them in the way that they're waiting on it. That's my opinion
Oh
of
yeah,
how it works right there.
bringing dinner right to them.
Yeah, I mean it's takeout. It's
Yeah.
Bobcat takeout time. You know what I'm saying? I deliver.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's just my silly way of thinking about it. It's like, yeah, you might catch them anchored there, but you got to wait on them to come to your bait. I want to take the bait to them. Same
Right.
thing. I kind of feel the same way about. I mean, I think fishing's awesome, but when fish are active and they're actively seeking food, but I think a lot of times when they're not active and they're not feeding very aggressively, I don't think they're going to pass up a free meal that you bring to them.
Right.
So that's just kind of the way I think about it. So I'm trying to do more of that this coming year, is like taking the bait to the fish instead of waiting on them to come to me.
Heck yeah. I mean, it's already paid off before. It should pay off even more.
Yeah, and Creole hit it right there too. He says it spurs a reaction bite, just like bass. I mean, they'll bite something just because it annoys them or aggravates them. I think catfish are kind of the same way. If they see it, they just react to it. And
Yep.
it's, right in their face. They're going to eat it, and that reaction feels awful good in your hand.
Oh yeah. See, we got
But
pork chop in here. We got catfishing with cause. What else we got coming in here? Mike's Fishing. Oh, what's going on, buddy? I see you in here. Indiana Chris, Parker Pursuits. I'm glad everybody coming in. How y'all doing? Hopefully it's a good Monday for you. It's good for us. But I think if you want to, Bob, we're here to talk about your good fish. So if you want to, we'll go ahead and let you. Hey, Clayton, I see you in there too, buddy. Go ahead and let you start off on one of your fancy fish.
my fancy fish. Well, last year I got two. I got two PBs within a month of one another. Um, I'll start with a little bit of backstory on the 63 pounder. Daryl and I were fishing together. I think it was in March of last year. And I can't remember the exact date, but it was in March, and we were fishing. I just call it the rock pile. It's a place on the ledge, and there's a rock pile, and there's a deep hole near it. I call it the rock pile. And I actually found that spot a long time ago, crappie fishing, because in the wintertime, crappie will kind of gather on that rocky outcropping, whatever it is. So
Right.
I just named it the rock pile. But anyways, Daryl and I were fishing on it, and we had some rods thrown out back, anchor fishing. I think we were probably spot locked, and we had one. I think we had two rods suspended on either side of the boat, and actually, I believe it was one of the suspended rods. It just went down, and Daryl and I are arguing over who was going to get the rod. I was like, "No, you get it. No, you get it. No, you get it. Bob, please get the rod." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll get the rod." So I get the rod and I pull up on it and I feel this fish. It's a big fish, and I feel this fish. And unfortunately, it was on the side of the boat that the rock pile was on. And this fish, I'm pretty sure he ran right into this rock pile and kind of snagged the line and all these nasty rocks. So long story short, we ended up losing that fish. Well, the very next weekend, I had a buddy of mine come down from Nashville, and he wanted to take his young son out crappie fishing. And I still crappie fish, but I don't crappie fish near as much as I catfish. And we went out. I took him and his son out crappie fishing. And his son, you know how kids are. His son was having fun at first, and then he got annoyed and irritated and wanted to. He was done, and I'm like, well, there's only half the day. And I'm like, all right, man, I'll take you back to the dock. And I took him back to the dock, and I was like, I still got half the day to go fishing. So I had some skipjack in the boat, and we actually caught some skipjack that morning. And I had my catfish rods with me. And I went back up to this spot because I was sick over losing that fish. I fished a couple spots upriver, but I went back to the rock pile, and kind of got in the same place, put rods out. I was by myself, and I'm sitting there, and I've got rods casted out, and I actually went up front to cut some fresh skipjack, and I had me a chunk about that big. If you watch the video, you'll see me. I'm walking towards the rod with this chunk of bloody skipjack, and the rods start playing musical. You know how sometimes they'll go around and test every bait. Well, that's kind of what was going on here. It's like the rod just kept, and I pick up on one rod, and it wouldn't be anything on. I'm like, these fish are monkeying with me. So after I picked up one rod and then put it back in the rod holder, and I start, I grab the bait up again, and I out of the corner of my eye, I see this rod go.
Yep.
And I dropped the skipjack on the deck, and I grabbed, I reeled down on the rod, and I grabbed it up out of the rod holder, and I immediately feel the weight and the pressure of this fish, and I'm like, oh, this is a good fish, this is a good fish. And I reel down on it, and I'm fighting it, and this chunk of fresh skipjack's laying there, and I fight this fish, and hey, Chat Cats is in the house. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Joe? I see you in here at Coosa River Bottom Feeders. Is that you, Cody?
What's up? Green Machine Dan in the house.
Quiet Man Curtis.
But I feel the weight of this fish. I really don't know how big he is, but I know it's a good fish. And I'm worried the whole time. I'm trying to get this fish because this is a rocky spot, and I don't want to lose another fish here. Thanks, Joe. I don't want to lose this fish here. And then finally, this fish comes up behind the boat, right? And I see that whale tail. Y'all know that whale tail. They'll come up and they'll like Shamu with that tail. I'm like, oh my God, this is a big fish. This is a big one. I knew it was my PB. I knew it was my PB. And boats are coming by. It's March, and there's boat traffic out there, and I finally get this fish to the boat, and I had just bought a new net. Like I think I'd only used this net one time, and because I had another fish that wouldn't fit in the net, and I ended up buying a new net. But anyways, I get him in the net, and I hoist him up on the back deck, and I'm like, man, I'm like, wow, yeah, wow, I'm going crazy, I've got this giant fish on the back deck. He takes up the whole back deck of my boat. If you watch the video, you'll see that I'm beyond excited. I mean, I'm just stoked to have this fish in the boat. And it's just, I knew it was definitely and I didn't have a set of scales in the boat at the time. So I did the old Joe Jellison measurement, and I measured the length on him, measured the girth on him, and determined it was 63 pounds. It may have been bigger than that. It's the one in the picture you use for the thumbnail, but I don't know how big the fish is. But it wore me slap out, man. In the end of the video, you'll hear me just panting because I'm just so from handling this fish and trying to show him and picking him up to measure him, and it just wore me out, man. But that was that fish, and I thought, man, it'll be a long time before I catch a fish that's going to top this guy. I was like, this is going to be my PB for a long time. 53 pounds is a huge fish, so I just knew that was going to be the fish that is going to be my PB, and I was going to have to work really hard to beat. And then, like I said, a month later, my second PB came in the boat, and it was I didn't have to work nearly as hard for that fish as I did the 63 pounder, but that's a funny story. If you want to do some call outs, I'll tell it later.
Oh yeah, sure. Of course, everybody know we see Joe snuck in, and we got my boy Cody from Coosa River Bottom Feeders. I'm glad to see you were in here, buddy. I don't think too many other people snuck in on me that I saw.
That Quiet Man Curtis in the house, Indiana Chris.
Yeah.
Pork Chop, William Warner. Chris will know what my favorite bait to use. Skipjack, buddy. That's my favorite bait. I'll use other baits, but skipjack, my number one.
Hard to beat that skipjack, dude. It's hard to beat it.
I love it. I mean, Daryl likes to use
bluegill.
Use bluegill a lot, and bluegill catch fish. I'm sure certain times of year bluegill is king, but I just don't think. I think if it's bloody, they're gonna eat it.
Oh yeah,
No matter what it is, and skipjack's real oily, so It's Michelle. It's all mine in the house.
Got Dale down
Down East
here.
Tackle.
Yep.
Dale, yeah.
Uh, you know he was going to ask. Going to be bumping Bob or dragging Bob?
Dude, Joe, honestly, bumping. I mean, I still like bumping. Um, Definitely bumping. I mean, I'd be bumping right now if the water was right for it. It's so awesome to go out there with one rod, get it done. Like one rod in the boat. I'll take a skipjack rod and I'll take my bumping rod. So much less complicated.
Shoot. If the
Matter
rain
of fact,
would quit.
yeah, if the water get right. I mean, matter of fact, sometimes I'll force myself to okay, I'm not going to take any anchor rods out because I want to bump. That's what I did on the day I caught the 54 down in front of the aquarium. I did I take bump. Actually, I did take anchor rods out that day, but sometimes I'll just not take a anchor rod with me just to force myself to bump. So, sometimes if you limit yourself, you'll try new things. So,
Yep. I've done that before with bass fishing. I always want to throw giant lures for those giant bass that I catch, stuff like this. But a lot of times,
mhm.
if the bass are hitting really good on something else, I'll use it and I'll catch little guys and I won't try for the big guys. So what I'll do is same thing. I'll take one rod with a big swim bait and leave everything else. The only thing that sucks is if you get it hung up and lose it though.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I can imagine how much one of those things cost.
We're not going to talk about that. My wife's watching.
Right, I understand. Yeah,
What's up, real time?
yeah.
Chris
I had my
Davis.
wife at CatCon, so I had to be real careful.
Oh, it probably was for the best that I was sick at CatCon because I probably would have come home broke.
Yeah, with credit card debt.
Yeah, and I'd have got punched in the face as I walked through the front door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you want to, we could talk about that other fish that you caught now because you said you caught that was your PB 63.
mhm.
Thought it was going to take
Yep.
you forever, and then fate would have it the very next month you blow that out of the water.
Yeah, it was like either a Thursday or a Friday afternoon after work because, as y'all most of you know, I run a small business and I work till I'm done. I don't work 9 to 5 or whatever. So a lot of times when I have an opportunity, I keep the boat here at the shop and I'll run to the river. And it was kind of one of those situations where I finished up for the day. I had some time, still daylight, and I was like, shoot, I'm going bumping or I'm going to the dam. And I wasn't bumping. I wasn't bumping at that time. I went to the dam and it was, you kind of figure out like with the TVA app when they're going to cut that water on down there. So I knew I had a little bit of window before they turned the turbines on in the evening. And I've got a theory about that too that I want to talk about too. But anyways, I went up there and they were just barely pumping water. They weren't pushing a lot of water, but there was enough water that I could spot lock and I could fish. So I found this hole up there, and I wanted to fish this depression, and I put my trolling motor out. I spot locked. I had 4 rods with me, 4 anchor rods. I baited out. We cut skipjack, and I threw the rods out. And I hadn't been there 10 minutes, right? And I had just thrown the baits out. And there was another guy that I met. I can't remember his name. I think it's Kevin or something. That was that was in this tiny like little V bottom boat, like a 12-foot boat with a little 5 horsepower motor on
Whew.
it. And he was kind of at the end of the wing wall. There wasn't much flow, so we were not in a bad place at all. So I got right behind one of the turbines, put the trolling motor down, and just kind of spot lock right where I was sitting, and threw baits out. And again, I don't know what it is about big fish, but the rod just starts slowly going down. It didn't slam it; it just starts going down like that. I think those little big fish are just lazy, and they just come up and they eat it, and they just slowly start moving away. So that rod goes down slowly, and I see it, and of course, it gets a good bend in it, and I go back there and and reel down on it. I knew it. And it's only about 8 or 10 feet of water right there, mind you.
Oh man.
Probably 10 feet at the most right where I was at. It doesn't get deep until you get up to the base of the dam. It was 8 or 10 feet right where I was at. And that rod goes down, and I feel the weight of that fish, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a big boy. This is a monster." And of course, yeah, Brian B's right. They like sneaking away with the bait. They're slick. They've been caught before. I believe that with all my heart. But
Mhm.
the rod goes down, and I start fighting this fish, and I'm fighting this fish, and I think somewhere in there, the rod was on the left hand side of the boat, and I kind of had to move everything over to get this fish on the side of the boat where I could land him. And and this fish, when I see him, my eyes got as big around as saucers. When I seen him, and every time he seen the boat, I got him close to the boat, he would dive down again and just start ripping, dragging. I'm standing there, I'm trying to grab the net with one hand, and I've got the rod in the left hand, and he's just every time I get him near the boat and try to net him, he sees that net, he takes off down again. So this went on for like 10 minutes, right? And like every time I reached with him for the net, he moved away from me. I couldn't get him. So, and at the time, somebody said, "Man, you should have put the rod in the rod holder and tried to net him." I'm like, I didn't trust the rod holders on my boat at that time because of the way they were attached, and the thought of losing this fish and getting a rod ripped off the side of the boat was not something I wanted to even consider. So while I'm fighting this fish, another rod goes off in the back of the boat. I've got the drag set good on it. Line is ripping off that rod, just ripping. There's
Oh,
nothing I can do about it. I'm like in the video you'll see like I keep my attention is split between the two rods, the one in my hand and the one at the back of the boat. It peeled off like 3/4 of the line on the spool, but there was nothing. I was not about to let go of the rod in my hand to go get that rod.
oh no.
So finally, the little guy in the 12-foot V bottom boat, I yelled at him, and I'm like, "Hey man, can you come over here and net this fish for me?" I'm like, every time I get him near the boat, he takes off again. And so the guy, he's on anchor. He's got an anchor out, and he pulls his anchor up, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'll come over there." And he's like, "How do you want me to get him?" I'm like, "I don't know, just get him in the net.
Yeah.
Like I don't care how you get him." And anyways, as he's coming up beside me, he sees the fish and he goes, "Oh my God, that's a monster." And I'm like, "Yeah, it is a monster." I'm like, but anyway, I think that just the act of him getting close to that fish, the fish then moves away from him and moves towards me. Like his attention was diverted long enough. So, and you see it in the video, you'll see the fish move away from his boat and move towards me, and I scoop him up. I'm like, "Thanks, man." He's like, "I didn't do nothing." I'm like, "Well, you kind of diverted his attention from my net, and as he moved towards him, he moved towards me enough to net him, and I net him and get him in the boat, and I'm just, again, I'm just mind's blown that I've got this monster behemoth of a fish on the deck of my boat again. And in the video, at the end of the video, you'll see that I'm in unbelief that I've caught this 73-pound fish, and it actually registered 75 on the scale. But I don't know how much my net weighs. I've never
Right.
tore my net off. I know it's not as heavy as one of the monster rods or whatever, but it weighed 75 on the scale. But I just kind of took a couple pounds off of it considering the weight of the net. But yeah, I was just in disbelief that I bested my PV, that soon after that fish. It was totally. But anyway, back to the rod on the back. By the time when I got that big 73 in the boat, I went back there and got the rod because it was still, going nuts. 3/4 of the line had stripped off of it. That fish was probably at the railroad bridge. I reeled down on it and started trying to fight it, and I could feel the line popping on the rocks.
Oh
I
no.
knew that he had snaked his way through the rocks, and I knew that I was going to lose that fish, and he broke off. But I don't know what size that fish was,
Wow.
but it was a big one too.
Golly,
I
man.
could have had two monsters in the boat that day if I'd have had some better rod holders or something.
Now, do you think that one was a catfish, or do you think it was a stripe running like that?
It could have been a stripe. I mean, it was stripping line. I mean, it could have been a big stripe, but who knows? I don't know what it was, and I don't want to really speculate, but it was just something big. I know that the way he was pulling drag, because I had the drag set pretty tight on that reel. But it was crazy because it just kept taking my attention from what I was doing. I'm like, here I've got this huge fish that I can see, but I really want to go get that fish, but I'm not going to leave this fish to go get that fish.
Don't lose a fish for a fish.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, a lot of people will say, well, you should have did this, or you should have did that. I did exactly what I thought was best at the time. I mean,
Yep.
that's how I feel. I did the best thing. I felt I did what I thought was best. So I could see the fish. I knew what I had beside the boat. I didn't know what that one was.
That's
But,
funny, dude. I hate it when
yeah.
that happens, but I also love it because every time I ever hook a good fish, it's like another pole goes down at the same time.
Yep.
It's like they travel in packs.
Yeah, and it's like you're like, I'll never know what that fish was. It could have been an 88-pounder. I just don't know.
Don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, I don't. I'm very happy with both of those fish, and I mean, it's a blessing to get two fish like that close together for sure. And I had somebody tell me that you couldn't. Yeah, okay, that's the thing. I want to talk about Joe's comment in chat cast. I've said this before. I believe that those fish, Joe said, they know when those turbines are going to come on. So I think they go up there and sit there and wait on them turbines to come on. Because when those turbines come on, it kicks up the bottom.
Yeah.
So I really think I was there right before those turbines kicked on, and I think that those fish were up there waiting for the dinner bell. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. But that never crossed my mind before that. But I thought about it a lot afterwards because of the timing of it. So I definitely think Joe is right about that. Like they got a schedule in the summer because everybody comes home and turns their air conditioner on.
Yeah.
So TVA starts generating more electricity. So when everybody comes home and starts cooking, loading the dishwasher, turning the dryer on, all the appliances in the house, they'll kick those turbines on and start generating power and electricity. So those fish, they're feeding. They know.
It's probably
Joe's absolutely right.
Not only does it kick up stuff off the bottom, but you got to think it's washing shad and stuff from up top too. It's killing them coming through. So it's kind of
sure.
throwing steaks down at them.
Oh yeah, yep. There's probably gather there, and they're probably gathered there that intake, feeding on algae, the shad and stuff are. And when they turn those turbines up, it probably sucks them shad through there and just slices and dices them with this free meal.
Yep. That's got to be what it is. And plus the extra water flow coming through, that's more oxygen. It's all the best scenarios for them, especially if like what you're saying, that they're lazy, they're sitting in that hole. They're not moving too much. Right then and there, everything is just being pushed down into their face. They're basically like a filter feeder at that point. Just leave their mouth open and just catch everything coming through.
Yeah, out in nature, it's kind of like, you want to expend the least amount of energy for the most nutritional gain. So it makes sense that a fish would sit there and wait on food to come to it because they're not having to really expend any energy to feed, to eat. So, they'll sit there and wait on that food to come to them rather than they'd go out and seek it. And that just makes total sense.
Oh, yeah. That makes for some crazy fishing too, man. I've seen some crazy stuff back there behind that dam when them turbines kick on.
Yep. It's a good place to be at certain times of the year. I don't think they're up there as much in the wintertime. And I always thought too, and I could be wrong on my thinking, but I think that catfish are not gonna. I don't think they're gonna spend a lot of time swimming in heavy current because that goes back to the whole thing of nutritional work versus reward. I don't think they're gonna just sit there and swim in that heavy current all day. They're gonna find places to hide and wait on food.
Yep.
That's just my opinion. I think common sense goes a long ways in fishing. Creel said that's the same reason he gets pizza delivered. Absolutely. It's like Bobcat delivery. That's what I'm gonna call myself.
Shoot, heck yeah. Everything in nature's that same way too.
Yep. So go out and find them.
Yeah. We got LG Bass. I seen you come in, Bud, and I seen Fat Boy Eric and Hooks and Hammocks. We see y'all sneaking in. I just I don't want to interrupt Bob when he's talking, especially when you start getting into the details on that stuff. It's amazing.
That's my boy Tom right there, LG Bass. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome to meet so many YouTubers at CatCon.
I still hate that I missed the second day when there was more people there. But I swear, dude, if I'd have stayed another day, I'd have probably fully been in the hospital. I'm still right now. How long has it been? It's been what, 3 weeks or better? I'm still on the antibiotics for whatever that lung infection I got, dude. It's been crushing me.
Hey man, that's awful. It wasn't COVID, was it?
No, it wasn't. It just I had an allergic reaction to something in the air, and it kick-started a whole bunch of stuff. I was happy I got to see everybody that I did get to meet on the first day.
Yeah.
But man, it would have been so awesome to see everybody the second day. But you wouldn't happen to have one of your bumping setups nearby, would you? Or is they all out back on the boat?
Oh, I can go get one.
I was gonna say, if you wanted to show what your bumping setup is and talk about that and everything. And also, another thing I want to get you to talk about is that dragon that you're doing too. You've been doing really well dragon baits.
Yeah, I have. That's something that's dragging with planer boards is something that's new to me. Definitely something I just started doing. I've been dragging. I drug baits a lot last year, but the planer boards just kind of stepped the game up, made it easier to do. But yeah, let me go get one of my bumping setups. I'll be right back.
All right. While he's going and getting his stuff to show off to the camera, y'all be thinking about questions that you got for him, okay? We still got about 15 minutes or so before Catfish Weekly takes on. So if y'all got anything you want to ask Bob or anything that you're thinking about, please put it up here. We'll see if we can't get him to answer it for you. I think it's funny that it's like, great minds think alike kind of thing. When we were up at CatCon, he was telling me about bumping, and I got a bumping set up to fish with him. I also got dragging weights because I wanted to try dragging this year out of my kayak. And then I see videos of Bob dragging, and it's another thing that's kind of new to me. I've been more of a sit and fish a spot kind of guy. But all this stuff, like I see everybody else doing, it's impressive. Where's my sticker for my board? Hold on, I'll put that up there for when he comes back. He can see it. If you need one done, he can do it. That's for sure. Let's try to see all of my stickers, the ones that I've given out here lately. Bob, he made all these. He did an incredible job. So anybody who gets any new logos or anything, it comes from him. What's up, Avid? Hey, bud, how you doing? I've been seeing you still having your lives and stuff, man. It's just hard to jump into everybody's lives. Not much luck yet. Yeah. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. All right, we got Bob come back here with his stuff, so we'll let him explain his setup. Which I think you still muted, Bob? I think he's still muted.
Bam, there we go. Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Sweet.
We got one question up here for you. You got to answer before you talk about it.
All right. Go ahead.
Mike's Fishing Home said, "Where's my sticker for my board?"
Did he drop me an email?
Oh, did you? Oh,
Bobcat Outdoors 365 at gmail.com.
yep.
Can you hear me all right, Pat?
Oh yeah, everything sounds good. You're good to go, bud.
This is a B&M Pro Staff bumping rod. I picked this one up at Catapalooza in Pigeon Forge this year, which is it's coming up not too far down the road. It's like a smaller catfish conference. B&M Pro Staff bumping rod, and let's see, what is it made out of? It's a 7-foot extra stiff carbon blank, and it is very extra stiff and heavy action, super stiff. And I've got it paired with I'm using a PC Fun Alios 300 size reel. It's a really inexpensive reel, but I like it. It's got a lot of cool features to it. One of the things I really like about it, you see this little trigger right here? It engages the reel without having to turn the handle. So check it out. So instead of having to turn the handle, it engages the reel for you. So when you're bumping, you can go from the thumb to this button right here and engage the reel. But power handle on it makes and this one's got, I think, a 5.2 to 1 gear ratio. Now as far as the setup, I think I'm using either 65 or 80 pound braid on here. I might have 65 pound braid on this one. Braid is absolutely essential for bumping. You've got to feel the bottom when you're bumping. And I'm using a three-way swivel with an 80 pound leader. And I've got this thing all tangled up. And a 20 pound breakaway for the sinker. Now, why is that important? Because you're likely to lose your sinker. Where you're going to be bumping at, if it's rocky and craggy, you're going to lose some sinkers. It's just going to happen. So you want that 20 pound mono on your breakaway on your sinker line in order for when your sinker gets snagged so that it'll break off. And this is going down to can you see that swivel?
Oh yeah.
A 3-way barrel swivel, and off to the left side right here, or to the left right here, the thinner mono, that's your or actually it's backwards on the thing, but this is your breakaway line, the 20 pound down to a teardrop sinker. So I'm using a teardrop sinker. You can use a Cannon sinker. You can actually use a bank sinker too, but a sinker with a round bottom will give you a better feedback when you're bumping rocks. So and I like these teardrop ones, and I've got a mold for these. And the reason I like them is you see what they've got on them? They've got a swivel on them, like molded into them, so that I think it maybe helps that sinker can turn and move rather than just be tied directly to the line. So I use these teardrop. I've got a 3, 4, 5 ounce mold, but then I've got an 80 pound leader going down. And this is a very important part right here. You see this chain swivel? When you're in current bumping, that bait's going to be spinning a whole lot. So some type of a swivel in line with your leader is going to keep that bait from your stuff from getting twisted up. And right here this is hard to do because I'm moving one way and the camera's moving the other. 8/0 circle hook snelled to the 80 pound. And the whole leader line's about 4 feet long. And I try to keep my sinker drop about half of that. So if you look where the ball swivel is, I usually try to keep my sinker to the middle of the leader line with the hook is actually longer, almost twice as long as the sinker drop, the 20 pound sinker drop. So that's kind of the rig, and some guys, like I know Roger and them, I don't know about Creole, but Roger will use a float, above their a peg float or something right above their hook, just like we do when we're anchor fishing.
Right.
Um, this year, I've got some demon dragons, and I'm gonna try bumping with a demon dragon to see if that makes any difference. Like Creole said earlier, you may get maybe this rattle will aggravate them and make them want to, bite your bait more. So I'm gonna try that.
Shoot, yeah, dude.
But that's essentially a bumping rig, and like I said, it's a I lost a whole lot of equipment, a whole lot of tackle when I first started learning how to do it and figuring out the boat speed. Your rig's only half of the equation. You've got to maintain a certain boat speed and boat angle and keep your boat, you want to kind of split the current. If you're in 3 miles an hour, you want to keep your boat at, about half of the current speed. I, you know, I always think the slower I go, the better. But it's kind of a keeping it because it's got to pull your bait out. The current, your bait's kind of acting like a parachute, and it's being pulled out away from the boat, so that when it's going down through there, that bait is being presented to the fish away from the boat.
Right. Uncle Lou says we noticed a big difference with a spook versus no spook last year bumping.
Did they catch more with the spook?
Yeah, I think that's what he was saying. They did better.
I am gonna try it. Anything that increases my chances of catching a fish, I'm down for.
Right.
But yeah, and this is the bumping rod that I picked up at CatCon from a Shattered Cat. It's a little bit different. It's actually 6 inches longer than the B&M. It's a Shattered Cat, 7'6", 1 to 10 ounce, a heavy action fast, and I've also got a Uncle Lou's sitting in a postal bin somewhere, waiting on it to get delivered to me, which aggravates the snot out of me. But I really hadn't did a lot of bumping with this one, so
Yeah. I'm gonna try that too. When I was up there, you and Daryl, y'all both got one. I not to copy y'all, but y'all, the bumping. So I picked up one of those, but that was before Uncle Lou come out with his bumping rod. So
yeah.
Yeah, I see you up there, Avid. I'll get you a wrench, buddy. I just can't do it right now. I see my dad's done popped in. What's up, pops? He loves all of our content and everything too. A lot of times he'll watch you guys, but he doesn't. He don't know how to work the technology too well, so he just a lot of times just watches and doesn't comment.
Yeah.
But, he sees all of our stuff popping up on there. I made sure to load his YouTube up with all of our fishing content. We got about 5 minutes before Catfish Weekly takes off. So if there's anything else that you want to say, talk about your business or anything, Bob, and then we'll get out of here. Give everybody a few minutes before they get started up.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, don't it?
Shoot, yeah, dude. That was awesome. I've been wanting to get you on here also for a while.
I appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
My wife just runs me out all the time. It's weird having people want me.
You're a good fisherman, dude.
Well,
will somebody please post up his link to his YouTube channel? I don't know if it'll help you. Most everybody in here, I think, watches both of our channels. But if anybody in here is not subbed to old Bob, you need to, because he's got some killer fishing content that he comes out with. Just real quick, what's the biggest you've caught bumping?
54. I caught that one in front of the dam. It's on my YouTube page if y'all want to go watch that. I bumped that one up like right in front of the aquarium. There's kind of a ditch, and I bumped that fish up right there. That fish was like, I fished all day long. Like my trolling motor batteries were nearly completely dead. That was like a Hail Mary end of the day fish. I mean, like I was so down on myself. That's why the most important thing about catching big trophy catfish, guys, is don't ever give up.
Yep.
I mean, grind it out. If fish aren't biting, just keep grinding. Just if you want to catch big fish, you have got to keep grinding. Like I said, I probably 7.5 hours before I hooked that fish up. And when I was bumping and that fish it was like a 54 pounder bumping. It just feels like you just hooked into a truck in high gear. And he took
Nice.
off running downstream, and and then I actually caught one more after that fish, but it made my day. I mean, I was just you get so if you go out and you fish for 7.5 hours and you don't get a single fish, you just feel so defeated and so useless as a fisherman. And then to have that reward right at the end just feels great.
Appreciate it, David. I appreciate you putting that up there for me, bud. If by chance anybody in here is not sub to Bob, please sub to him. He's trying to make that 1,000 like a lot of us are trying to. This dude puts out some seriously good content.
Thank
And
you.
in my opinion, it's unique because you're kind of trying to do your own thing up there. Everybody anchor fishes in the Tennessee River, but you're out there bumping, dragging, and you do this stuff by yourself. Like you're out there
Yeah,
wrangling these fish 99.9% of the time. It's just you and the boat versus these things. So,
yeah.
and I can get behind that, dude.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'm trying to do my own thing. And like we were talking about backstage, I'm just trying to diversify and learn all these techniques. And I'm learning like everybody else is. I'm always learning, never stop learning. But I'm trying to diversify so that I have tools in my toolbox for when the conditions change. I was like, well, okay, it's too much flow today to go bumping. Let's go dragging, or let's
Right.
anchor fish, or and like have. I think that over the years we've developed all these tools for catching catfish. I think it will pay dividends in the end if you keep them in your toolbox and utilize them.
Yep.
So I'm just trying to diversify how I catch fish, so I can keep catching bigger fish. That's what we're all here doing, is trying to catch big fish.
Right. Well,
So
guys, we're at the end of our time right here. In about a minute, Catfish Weekly will be up. Bob, I appreciate it, bud. If you want to, just sit behind stage with me for just a minute before I let you go. Everybody, we will see y'all back out on the river. Peace.
thanks, guys.